If you watch my videos, you know I'm not enthusiastic about electric cars. The only real advantage they have is the ability to create lots of horsepower in a simple manner. Aside from that, there's really no advantage of owning one. If you disagree, leave a comment in the comment section. But for those of you out there who are planning on buying an EV anyway, there are some good ones out there, and I've heard a lot of good things about this Hyundai Ioniq 6. Starting price at $37,500 according to this little advertisement here. Range up to 361 miles. So I called them up and said, send me one. And they did. And Car and Driver gave it a 10 out of 10 rating. They must have liked it. And here is the price spread if you're interested in buying one. So let's pull up the price sheet on my little computer screen here. I see it's totally made in Korea, in a Korean factory by Korean workers. That's good. It means the quality control will be high. This is the long-range version. And here's what you're getting for your money. You can freeze it if you want to slow this down. The pricing is reasonable. Why are they charging us for carpeted floor mats? They just can't help themselves. They have to add something. Unbelievable. Charging for floor mats. Anyway, the price of gas doubling under this current administration of idiots running the country. Instead of the typical $600 for shipping, now it's $11.50. Fuel isn't cheap. For a total of $43,810. Doesn't sound that bad. So let's go take a look at the car. And here it is in person. Very nice looking vehicle. And here's the rear view. In the side view, as you can see, this is very aerodynamic, so it's going to slice through the wind at highway speeds. Before we continue with this test, let me give you guys some advice if you're going to buy an electric vehicle. The Korean brands like Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis are a bit ahead of anything Japan's making right now in the EV market. I've driven both. And they're miles ahead of the European EVs, which I consider to be over-engineered, overpriced nonsense. I wasn't impressed with hardly any of them. There are 3 versions of this available. The entry level has 149 horsepower, 2-wheel drive, a range of 240 miles. Or we have the one here, 2-wheel drive, 225 horsepower, single motor, with the long range pack, giving 361 miles on a good day. And for big spenders, the dual motor setup, 320 horsepower that can reach 60 miles per hour in 4.5 seconds, with a range of 270 miles. The one we have here claims 0 to 60 in 6 seconds, which is brisk enough for most people. Hey, it closed on me here. Open up. Well, anyway, they claim this is a very fast charging car, 10% to 80% in only 18 minutes. So we're going to take it out and do some charging and see if that's true. And one of the first things we do, we get a vehicle, take the headlights out in the dark, do a night drive, and see how they perform. We did a video on that YouTube already. I have a link for that at the end of this video. So you get 2 videos to watch for the price of 1 free. We also check to see what brand of tires they're giving us, because a lot of companies are putting cheapies on. These are Ioniqs, not my favorite brand, but they'll do. And last but not least, we open up the trunk and see if there's a spare tire in there. I doubt it. Nope, just charging cables. And a place to hide your cash, gold, and pizzas. This is a very impressive interior, modern design, easy to use controls, a nice large glove box. Here's your climate controls, and control for the map, navigation, and media. And for some reason, everything's in the dark mode at the moment. One feature unusual for a car, but I definitely like, usually only find on something like a Jeep Wrangler. The door locks are down here in the console. The power windows are on the console. I like this. I like them having them here. And on most cars, you have a shifter on the console with a stick or push buttons or a dial. Now they're putting shifters on the steering column, and here you just put it forward for drive, pull it back for reserve. I like this. It's out of the way, easy to use. I think we'll be seeing more of these in the near future. Here's the camera system. Pretty good resolution. A nice gauge cluster. Easy to use once you figure everything out. Usual push buttons. Almost forgot the drive mode. For Eco, Normal, or Sport. One interesting program you find on some Hyundais is the Sound of Nature, where you get different sounds programmed. Like here we have Moment of Meditation. Experience the Universe. City Dawn. Here's one that puzzles me. Rainy day. Look, if I'm driving a car, I don't hear the sound of leaking water. It could mean I'm losing a water pump. And yeah, this is an electric car, don't have to worry about that. But here's one I definitely want to worry about. And here's everybody's favorite, a nice warm fireplace sound. Are you kidding me? The way all these electric vehicles are catching on fire, burning the ground, the last thing I want to hear coming through the vents is the sound of fire. Hello? Who invents this stuff? I like Hyundais. I just don't like this. Alright, we're at part 2 of the video. I've been driving this for a couple days. I'm very, very impressed. The steering is very quick and responsive. The turning circle is very, very tight. Extremely tight. Very easy to put in a parking space. This is a very pleasant car to drive on the street. It's got plenty of power. Very smooth, got some handling. I wanted to take this up to the mountains and do a long night drive, but I just don't have the range for that because it's an electric car. Too bad. And speaking of range, I want to take this out on the highway and do some other driving and get some idea of just how far this car can really go. And have the pleasure of experiencing the public chargers that sometimes work and sometimes don't. So right now we have 95% charge, which comes to a range of 310 miles, starting at 1,643 miles with the odometer. And the outside temperature was 116 degrees earlier, but now it's about 6 o'clock in the afternoon, dropping to 103 degrees. So it's a bit warm outside. Electric cars don't like heat. We're using the air conditioner quite a bit, obviously. And on the info screen, another reminder of what our range will be, theoretically. Now part 2, we've driven 51.3 miles. And we've lost just over 100 miles of range. That means in simplistic terms, for every mile we're driving, we're losing 2 miles of range. Which means if I take this on a highway trip right now, at 130 miles, I'm not going to make it. I think this has to do with the air conditioning, and I'll show you why I think that. Because if I turn the air conditioning off, now I just bumped up to 268 miles of range. So if I turn the air conditioning off, I just might make my 130 mile trip. But at 113 degrees outside at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, that's not going to happen. This is why you have to take the estimated ranges from the manufacturers and consumer magazines with a grain of salt. Because in different weather conditions, extreme heat or extreme cold, I know from experience you lose half your range. Which means even if you had 350 miles on the clock, you'd be lucky to get around 165. Remember, at 95%, we had 310 miles on the clock range. A bit of the drop from the 361 claimed you can get at 100%. And here we go again, the next day with the air conditioning on full blast. Shows 190 miles. Dirt down to low. Speed, 216 miles. And turn it off completely, 252 miles of range. Using 65 degrees as our temperature. From 65 degrees to 71 degrees, didn't see much difference here, so looks like it's the fan speed that's draining the energy more than the temperature for some weird reason, but that's the way it is. According to the computer that shows your range, if I take a trip today and have the air conditioning on full blast, I'm only going to get 205 miles of range. If I turn the air conditioning on medium, I'm going to get 235 miles. And if I turn it off completely, I get 270 miles. So we're going to take a highway trip very early in the morning when it's cool. Keep the temperature around 72 degrees on the system. And the fan speed on extremely low. That should give us 250 miles according to the computer. I hope so, because I got 130 miles to do. We'll see what happens. I was going to say this is a nice vehicle for long trips, but it's an electric car. You can't take long trips. Unless you want to spend as much time with the charger as you do driving. That's just the way EVs are. So far, cruising at 75 miles per hour. We racked up 70 miles and lost 95 miles of range. That's with the air conditioning on super low speed. Even though it's 6 o'clock in the morning, we're reaching about 90 degrees Fahrenheit, so we gotta have some air conditioning in here. One of the benefits and fun of having a public charger, you get to go through 6 or 7 chargers before you find one that works. So I just wasted 15 to 20 minutes of my life. Finally got one that works. I can sit here for half an hour and waste some more time. I think I'd rather have a gas vehicle right now. Nothing personal, Hyundai. You make good electric vehicles, but not when you're taking long trips. Not for me. I will give this car credit. It is charged pretty quick. Went from 37% to 80% in 14 minutes. It's been 20 minutes. I'm up to almost 90%. Costing me $24.69 to gain 200 miles. You do the math. Figuring $3.50 a gallon if you had a gas car. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Public chargers are very, very expensive. You're not going to save any money with an electric car if you use public chargers all the time compared to a gasoline car. In fact, there are some V8 cars that really wouldn't cost that much more to fill up if gas was around $3.10 a gallon. That's why if you have an electric car, you better plan on charging at home. Alright, what's my take on driving this after a week? Like I said before, there's really no reason to own an electric car unless you're getting a powerful motor. They just don't make any sense in my book, but if you're one of those who has to have an electric vehicle, this is definitely one of the best ones I've driven in a long time. And the best ones always seem to come from Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis for some reason. So it does get my approval. Thumbs up. I just think it's a shame they don't offer this vehicle with the gasoline motor as well, because it'd be a great sports coupe. Oh well, too bad they don't. So now coming over this link for our night drive video and headlight test. With all those bulbs in there, it should be an interesting video, so click and watch.